Welcome to the Grueling Truth NFL Pick'em Show. We're at a championship weekend. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. First, I'd like to welcome in the winner from last week, who is a winner from last week, but a loser for the whole season because he's a 49ers fan, Matt Andrews-Scavage.
Hey, I believe I won the regular season pick'em.
I believe we were tied, so I don't believe you did win. We were tied, and we'd already established week one, and Leon can back me up on this. I was to take all ties.
All right. I guess I'm doing as good as I can do then.
Last place on the Pick'em show last week was Leon Searcy, who followed up the week before where he was first, coming in last. How you doing tonight, Leon?
Not good. How the hell I was last? I know I was 2-2, which I was undefeated.
I know. I was 3-1, and Matt was 4-0.
Oh, that's crap.
Wow.
Which puts you a game behind Matt and tied with me with 3 games to go.
No real journey.
Mark, I think you were 2-2 last week too, weren't you?
That was.
Yeah, so you were tied for last with Leon. So that brings me to my next losing guest, Mark Cooper, who say hi to everybody, Mark.
The Mark Cooper, who has the only team who's in the hunt for the playoff and Super Bowl championship, Mark Cooper.
Wait, you played for the Buccaneers, though. They're not in it.
We're not talking about that.
Okay. We won't talk about Leon's Jacksonville Jaguars either. And
leave them up
welcome to the show. Also, our New England Patriots fan, mythical Dave Sidursky. He's a boxing writer. You want to say hi to everybody, Dave?
How you doing, everybody? For the record, I was 3-1 last week.
Yeah, but you weren't on the show, so nobody really cares. Okay?
Yeah,
anybody
can
do this. Anybody can pick the games when nobody's listening. All right? You know, it's just like when a tree falls in the woods. Does anybody hear a bear shit or whatever that is? I mean, it doesn't matter. So I think I might have got that backwards. But all right, we're going to start off. We're going to start off with this. What was your big takeaway from last week, Matt?
Oh man, the NFC games were just unbelievable. It really had to, early on. I was thinking Arizona and Carolina were just going to, walk away with it, and Green Bay really played well. I thought they outplayed Arizona, and then Arizona was able to catch a couple of breaks, and then 2 Hail Marys in a row. What an ending! And then Larry Fitzgerald takes it over, and almost the same thing happened in Carolina with that 31-0 lead that just slowly started to vanish, and you thought you were going to see the same thing. But I think we're seeing the best 2 teams in the NFC in the championship game, and I think we're going to see a good game on Sunday.
All right. Mark?
I thought Arizona was going to run away with Green Bay. And did that game just keep everybody riveted. Carolina, I think, Carolina kind of took the foot off the gas. Seattle had made a run at it. The Kansas City, I really thought Kansas City had a shot at beating New England, and New England did what New England does, outcoaches everybody and keeps in the game and wins football games. So, that's going to be a big matchup this weekend with my Denver team. But Denver and Pittsburgh, everybody was saying Roethlisberger wasn't going to show, and comes out on the first play of the game trying to throw about a 50-yarder. And so I'm sitting in the stands going, okay, they're just going to try and show his arm here real quick and scare everybody, and we'll see what happens for the rest of the game. But I'll tell you what, that guy could be the toughest SOB I've ever seen play the quarterback position, and I played with Elway's and Jim Kelly's, and I'll tell you what, Ben ranks right up there in my book with the toughest guys around, and made it a close game. I mean, the Broncos dropped 7 balls, I call it 8. And could have had another 100-plus yards in offense, and it almost gave the game away. So, obviously I'm a homer, and I'm looking forward to the, Patriots having to come through Denver again.
All right, Leon?
Yeah, I have to agree with Matt. And the NFC was just wacky. I mean, I watched both games. It was just crazy. Green Bay had, come on, 4th and 20. Aaron Rodgers converts 4th and 20, and then the Hail Mary off his back foot for a touchdown. It was pivotal times in that game where Green Bay could have won the game. I think about Sam Shields has about 3 interceptions in his hand that could have closed the game out, especially late when they was throwing it to the end zone. He could have had that interception, and that would have been lights out for the Cardinals. And the Cardinals really did impress me. I think for the most part, Green Bay paid well enough to win that game, even without the Hail Mary. The Cardinals was very fortunate in that game with Carson Palmer throwing the ball across the field and Larry Fitzgerald. I think with the with the Panthers game, I thought it was lights out by the first half, but Seattle showed a lot of resilience. And I think the pivotal point of that game was when they ran that fake punt and didn't get any points off of it. I mean, that might have been the difference in the ball game where they could have had tied it up or made it close. The AFC, it just shows me how vulnerable the 2 top teams in the AFC are. New England could have easily lost that game against the Chiefs. And the Steelers, I mean, it's ironic that we beat the Bengals the week before because of a fumble by the running back. And the Steelers fumble by a running back gives the Broncos an opportunity to drive down, score a touchdown, and win. So, but I think the best 2 teams in the NFC are in. I'm a little shaky on the AFC, but we're going to see how it plays out with Denver and Patriots. It's going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, what Leon's trying to say there, people, is the Bengals are the best team in the AFC, but they had some injuries. Dave.
All right. That Arizona-Green Bay game was ridiculous. I expected Arizona to run away with that one, like a lot of people, and I was a little disappointed that it was as close as it was. Carolina surprised me. I thought Seattle was going to win that game, but at the same time, you're up 31-0, and the game still goes down to the fourth quarter. There's, that's a little disappointing. Overall I like the Patriots' performance. The performance of Julian Edelman and Gronkowski. I concerns about their health and the offensive line protected, but again, New England had that game in hand, but they didn't put them away, and it still came down to the final few minutes, and that shouldn't have happened. And I think if Big Ben is fully healthy and Antonio Brown plays, I think the Steelers win that game. So the Broncos advance; they're still dangerous, but I think they got a bit of a break there.
Yeah, and if Andy Dalton was healthy, the Steelers wouldn't have got that far. But I'll digress there. Football more than ever is a war of attrition. The other thing is this. Is that Coop asleep? I know he's getting pretty old. It's kind of late to stay up. It's 9 o'clock in Denver, so.
You're digressing.
Well, I didn't look up a new word today, so I might look one up while we're doing the show, so when I get to my picks, I can use one. But the thing that really sticks out to me is how poor the officiating is in almost every game you see anymore. That and the coaching decisions. I mean, Bruce Arians throwing a pass where, that game's not even in doubt at the end if he just runs the ball. That kind of blew my mind. Just like Tomlin the week before going for 2 up 15-0 when you could have been up 2 points or 2 extra. And then you got Andy Reid. That looked like Andy Reid in Super Bowl 39, where they're taking their time. They're huddling up with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, and they need 2 scores. So I think in the end, the team with the best coach and the best quarterback usually wins when you get to this time of year. I think that's the way it'll be this week, which brings us to our first game, which is the NFC Championship game with the Arizona Cardinals going to Carolina to face the Panthers. We'll start off with Dave. Dave, what's your pick on this game?
This is literally a coin flip. Carolina looked better last week than Arizona did. That said, Arizona has 3 or 4 guys who can catch the ball and that are dangerous. From a receiving standpoint, I think they just have a little more firepower than Carolina. So I'm going to go with Arizona in a close one, like 30-27.
All right. Leon.
I think this game is going to come down to the quarterback play. Watching both quarterbacks play last week, Carson Palmer had some issues. He was a little rattled, I seen, against Green Bay. I think Green Bay probably played their best defensive performance against them. And he just made some poor decisions. Even that throw across the field, I mean, that was lucky. That could have easily been a safety there waiting to pick that off, take it to the house. But he threw some interceptions in the end zone. He threw some errant passes they just didn't make. I just think that right now, Cam Newton is probably playing better football than Carson Palmer. I think the defenses are awash. I think both defenses can stop the run. I think both defenses can get up to the quarterback. Neither team really has a really decent running game. You got to give the wide receiving core the edge to the Cardinals. But if Carson Palmer played like he did against Green Bay, against the Panthers at home, I mean, those interceptions are going to turn into points. So I think the Panthers at home with the home crowd, with Cam Newton in that defense, I think they find a way to make it to their second Super Bowl. And I'm just going with the Panthers to win.
All right, Mark?
Boy, Leon, you pretty much hit every point I would have made. I think Cam and the Panthers are just, on a better roll than probably anybody out there right now in the league, to be honest with you. They just are more consistent in everything they're doing. Arizona seems to be, they were about 4 weeks ago, I thought they were really going to be the next new, but they just haven't matured, I don't think. I think Carolina takes this game, by 7 to 10 points.
All right, Matt?
Hardest game of the week to call for sure. To me, this was a game that I've been hoping for because they didn't get to play in the regular season, so we really don't have a lot to base it on. But I'm almost thinking Arizona, the best thing that happened to them was to struggle last week, because if they come out and they win big, they probably struggle this week. I think they're going to get it together. I really respect Carolina. I really respect what they've done this year. I don't think they're just this fluky 15-1 team. I think they are really good. That said, I'm almost thinking it's going to be tough for Cam if they fall behind. The fact that they couldn't muster any points in the second half, when all they really need to do is get at least a field goal or a touchdown, like late in the third quarter, and I think it definitely seals the game. But they were just never able to do that. And largely, and I don't want this to be taken as an insult to Cam Newton, but he's largely a front runner. When things are going really good, he's really good. But when things aren't going so well, it's not very often you see him kind of just take the team on his back and go win a game. We haven't seen that. Maybe he is capable of doing that. But I'm going to go with Arizona to win this. I think Arians is a tougher coach, a better coach than Ron Rivera. I think the defense can do a little bit more. I like Carolina's defense a lot. I think probably largely it's a wash, but I like Arizona a little bit more, and I think they got a little bit more firepower on offense. And I think last week was a wake-up call for them, and they're going to get it done. Close game, though.
All right. I think it's a great matchup also. I think the biggest difference here is Bruce Arians against Ron Rivera. I think Arians' teams play like they're not afraid to lose. I think they did last week. And a lot of that is Carson Palmer and the fact that he was Bengalized for the last 12 to 13 years. And I think he was very tight in that playoff game. And I think that the fact that he got through that game, I think he will play better this week. There's a big difference between being a big favorite in a playoff game and being an underdog. And I think the big difference is this. Cam Newton had a great season. Carson Palmer had a great season. Cam Newton can use his feet to make plays. Carson can't. But in the end, Carson has about three things that Cam doesn't. And that's three really good wide receivers. And Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, in the playoffs, is as good as anybody that ever lived. He's as good during the regular season as anybody that ever lived. And he's one of the few wide receivers, like a Jerry Rice, that can actually take a game over from the receiver position. I think the way Carolina runs their defense, they're usually in a cover two. You're going to get Josh Norman covering him with some help over the top. But I don't think that Larry Fitzgerald will be stopped this weekend. So I'm going to lean towards Bruce Arians and Larry Fitzgerald, basically, in this game. So I'm going to go with Arizona 30, Carolina 24. But any other comments? Anybody want to tell me I'm crazy on that?
Yeah. How extensive is Carson Palmer's injury to his index finger? Because I keep getting mixed reviews on that. Because a lot of his passes last week were errant, and
yeah,
he had like a 52% quarterback rating, and if that index finger was healthy, I think it would have been a different game.
Yeah, I mean, index finger on a quarterback, especially on the throwing hand, I think is a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just according to how it is now. This game would be much easier to pick if we did it on Friday night. You heard some reports. So I'm just going to guess it's not going to hurt him. Like I said, I'm just basically going with Bruce Arians. I think he's a hell of a coach, even though I think he made a huge mistake that he got away with. So I think the Carson Palmer injury is huge, though. Leon?
Yeah, I did forget about the index finger. They were talking about in the game about what they do, dislocated in a game like week 12, 11, or whatever. That he changed his tape job on it. It had to be affecting him somewhat. Maybe, like you said, Mike, it might have been jitters. I mean, he hasn't won the playoff game. He's been 0-2. Here's his opportunity a couple of games away from the Super Bowl. He just didn't seem comfortable most part of the game. And some of those passes where you overthrow, and then those 2 interceptions, you ask yourself, what are you doing, Carson? You're in this position where you got the team, you've got the dominant team. All you have to do is take care of the ball, and you should win. And he kept Green Bay in that game and almost cost them. So it's going to be interesting to see that Green Bay defense played above their head against against Cardinals. He's going up against a bona fide defense in the Panthers this week. So he can't make those same mistakes he made in the week before.
Well, and the thing that worries me is this, and the thing that makes me think that it was more nerves than anything else, was the Sunday night game they played against the Bengals, where he came out, throws 2 quick picks, looked very uncomfortable until he got to the third quarter, where he played an amazing third quarter. Then the game gets tight in the fourth quarter, and he can't get a first down again. So that's the thing that really worries me with him, is just whether this is just more nerves and being tight or his finger. Because I'd rather it dang near be his finger than the other thing. Because, I mean, if it is, then he's going to be worried. He's going to be overthinking things, and I think that could cause problems. But we will take a break. We will check a word from both of our sponsors, Gridiron Mo and SteelbergBox.com. Make sure you check both their websites out. So we'll be back with the NFC or the AFC Championship preview right after this.
I'd like to tell you about our new website, www.steelbergbox.com, a monthly fan box service built to take a fan's passion for the Pittsburgh Steelers to a whole new level. Offering 3 different fan boxes to choose from and several different plans, fans are guaranteed to get way more value in their box than they paid. It's simple. Drop by www.steelbergbox.com. Choose the category and size: men, women, youths, and infants. Then, pick one of our 3 Steelers merchandise fan boxes. After you choose your fan box, hit subscribe. Then choose your monthly plan. You're done. Go Steelers.
This is former All-Pro Leon Searcy. I've got a new interactive app called Gridiron Mo, where you get to call the plays, offense or defense, and a live NFL game. You get to interact with other fans, pick the play, pick the call. That's Gridiron Mo.
All right, we're back on the Grueling Truth NFL Pick'em Show. We are to the AFC Championship game. We have the Mark Cooper's Denver Broncos against, Dave Searcy's New England Patriots. So we will start off. Who wants to go first here? Matt. We'll start with Matt.
All right. Well, it's really hard for me to pick against New England. I've been saying that pretty much all season until Bill Belichick and Tom Brady lose. It's really, really, really tough for me to pick against them. I think Denver is really good defensively. I think their run game has come on. They haven't been lights out all year, but they've definitely shown a lot of bright spots, especially C.J. Anderson in the last probably 6-7 weeks. He's played well. Ronnie Hillman is, he's not there every week, but he's good for a real good game here and there. I gotta believe he's got to show up this week. I like the receivers. It's disappointing for Denver to go out and get a guy like Vernon Davis, and he's basically just not in the lineup. I'm not even sure if he may have seen one target. I mean, he appears to be completely done. I don't know if they're going to get him in the game plan, but if he was doing well, that would be quite a weapon for him. But I don't know if they're going to have him. Peyton Manning just does not look like Peyton Manning. I don't know exactly what it is. If it's age, if it's just an injury or whatever it is, his throws just don't look right. And Bill Belichick has always done well against Peyton Manning, and so it's hard for me to see Denver winning unless they can get turnovers. On the other hand, obviously there's Patriots have been through their share of injuries, but they've got most everybody back. I see them being able to move the ball when they need to. I don't think this is going to be a really high-scoring game, but I think the Patriots can get 24 points, and I'm not sure if Denver can get 24. So I'm going to take New England 24, Denver 17.
All right, Dave?
I agree with a lot of what Matt said. If this game were on a neutral field or in Foxborough, I would have no doubt that the Patriots would win. But Denver has always been a chamber of horrors for the Patriots. I'm concerned about their special teams. The one way I can see Denver winning is that, if the Patriots make a couple of boneheaded plays on special teams, turn the ball over, giving up some ridiculous returns. Denver gashed them with the running game the first time that they met, so I'm a little concerned about that. But, all in all, Denver's got a great defense, but, you got a healthy Edelman, a healthy Gronk. I think New England, it won't always look pretty, but New England will put up in the upper 20s at least. And like Matt said, Peyton Manning is not the same guy. He did a nice job of managing the game last week, but he's not the Peyton Manning of old. I think Denver is going to have a tough time scoring enough points to beat New England, but it's going to be close. I'm going to say 27-24 Patriots.
All right, Leon?
Is it right? I mean, is this right? This is New England's fifth straight AFC Championship game? This is their fifth straight AFC Championship. Oh, my.
The only team I remember doing that was the Oakland Raiders from 73 through 77. I don't know if they're the only ones that ever do it, but they're the only ones I remember.
Well, yeah. Well, I went to 3 straight, and I'm telling you, 5 straight is phenomenal. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in this kind of situation, you got to call them the closer. They're one of the best closers, probably over the last decade or so. They get themselves in this position. They're not healthy. The offensive line is patchwork. They are playing in Denver. I like Denver's chances with that defensive front, but like you said, Peyton Manning just doesn't seem to be showing me any of the variables that he's the old Peyton Manning. He looks flustered in the pocket. The arm strength is not there. His receiving core, like Mark had alluded to earlier, I mean, they dropped about 7 to 10 passes that were just in their hands. That's got to be shaky for his confidence when he's got receivers that are dropping passes when they're open. I think Tom Brady's Tom Brady. He's got Amendola. He's got him back. He's healthy. Gronk is Gronk. I just think the Patriots were in this position, one game away from the Super Bowl. Even when they had a healthy Peyton Manning, they got it done against them. I mean, they're probably 2 of the greatest quarterbacks over the last decade, but Tom Brady has owned them when he was in the Colts. He owned them when he was a Bronco. I just think Tom Brady, in this position, a game away from the Super Bowl, back-to-back opportunity, I think they get it done. I think the Patriots win this game. I don't think the Broncos are going to be able to score enough points, so I think the Patriots win this game 24-13.
All right, I'll go next. We'll let Mark go last, and then we'll all pick on him because he's going to pick Denver. We know that. I think there has to be concerns about Peyton Manning. On top of that, there has to be concerns because, I don't know, Coop, you can tell us a little bit more about this. You've seen more Bronco games than I have, but it seems like they have a ton of drops no matter who the quarterback is usually.
Yep.
And, I mean, it's going to be hard to win a game when you're dropping passes. I think they will have some success running the ball. I think they're going to have a hard time keeping Peyton Manning upright. And as we've seen before, you know, nobody's better at disguising defenses to beat Peyton Manning than Bill Belichick. I mean, and Leon talked about 5 straight conference championship games. I think 10 conference championship games in, 14 or 15 years, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, 10 conference championship games in 14 or 15 years. It's got to be one of the most amazing runs since the Cowboys went to the playoffs every year for 20-some years when Tom Landry was there. New England doesn't have probably a running game. They haven't had one all year. They keep losing running backs. That's a problem. But Brady is one of the few guys that if you force him to throw it 50 times a game can still beat you. Where Peyton Manning, you go with Peyton Manning, guy, even Big Ben. If you force him to throw it 50 times, you usually beat him. But with Brady, it doesn't seem to matter. I think if Edelman's healthy, I think this game could be a blowout. By blowout, I'm saying 2 touchdowns. Because I don't think Denver's going to be able to score a lot of points against New England. So I'm going to go New England 27, Denver 13. Mark?
Well, the reason Brady's not Brady, and everybody keeps making that comment, is because he's in Gary Kubiak's offense. So he's not.
You mean Manning?
I'm sorry, Manning. Manning's he's not. He's just not in that. Shotgun all the time, no huddle, et cetera. I mean, they basically made him play pistol and get behind the quarterback. So I was worried about this, whole coaching change, even though it was necessary, him and them getting on the same page. But they seem to have done that. It's really the receivers. You can't drop 7-8 balls a game. I mean, you can't have those kinds of drops. Manning's confidence, no issues with his confidence. It's an issue of who is going to catch the damn ball, and that they've had that issue all season. Demaryius Thomas is getting paid $1 million a game, somewhere in that range. It's something stupid almost. And how do you drop the ball?
Real quick, one question, Mark. If you're a quarterback, even if you have supreme confidence, if you've got receivers dropping the ball, the problem is not his confidence in himself. I think the problem is the confidence in the people around him.
I get that. But he's going to still throw it at him. I mean, he's still going to put the ball where it's got to be and try and get the job done. Brady had, it's the 12th man. Brady's got to come through Denver. And Denver fans, 2 years ago, that stadium rocked the entire day. And all Brady does is stand back there and whine and cry to the referees, and it just makes the crowd that much noisier. And that's what I think is going to be the difference, is trying to come through Denver with the 12th man being the stand going berserk, like they did 2 years ago, because he's not had great success here in Denver. I think he's less than 50% coming through Denver, if I remember right. And, they're a little bit healthier, I think. Our secondary's beat up. Bolden, I think, went on injured reserve. They brought in a guy who hadn't played a whole lot. Our secondary, I think, is going to be a little bit suspect. But I think if we can get DeMarcus and and Vaughn turning around that corner and getting in Brady, you'll make Brady an average quarterback. And so coming through Denver with that 12th man being the stadium and the fans here, obviously I'm picking Denver. And I do think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be it could get ugly if we don't catch the ball, but if we can catch the ball and do the things that Denver has done well, and they've started to run the ball a little bit, I think they can beat New England. And I don't think, but it's going to be by 3 points max, if that.
Yeah, but with the 12th man in the 70s and 80s, Denver had a 12th man advantage. Is it so much now, considering the last 2 years they lost at home?
I was in the stands last weekend, and I was in the stands 2 years ago when New England came through here. And it's crazy. This place just turns on fire.
But my point is, even with those crazy fans, they've lost 2 of their last 3 playoff games at home.
Who?
I think
Denver,
the difference
they lost to the
between
Colts, they lost to the Ravens.
I think the difference between now and 2 years ago is that 2 years ago Denver had clearly the superior roster. They were clearly the better team, and that that game turned out predictably. This time it's not so clear cut.
I would agree with that. I mean, the offensive line has been is basically a patched together offensive line, but New England's has been beat up pretty bad too. You know what I mean? But the secondary is taking its hits pretty hard. The defensive line, DeMarcus didn't look like DeMarcus Ware last week, even, to be honest with you. He got a fumble, but that's because he was trailing the play. They got punched out, and again, the defense has held this team together all year long, and I think they can do it against New England one more time.
All right, Leon, any final thoughts? Or go ahead, Mark.
But that's what they play the game. I mean, everybody. You hear a lot of people just picking, giving the Patriots a trophy right out of the box. But the one thing about this team has been really, really weird, and the defense. And I've said it all year, can the defense keep doing it? Can the defense keep doing it? Can the defense keep doing it? They freaking keep doing it. And Wade's a tough guy to beat, especially beat him at home.
Well, I mean, he comes from one of the greatest defensive minds in the history of football in Bum Phillips. So
yeah.
You know where it came from. And I think also from watching the players, he has the same effect on his players that Bum did, which means his players really do care for him. And they know he cares for them, which that makes for a hard team to beat.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game.
All New England guys are scared of getting cut, so that makes for a hard team to get beat, too.
I think Denver's going to have to get a defensive touchdown to have a chance to win this game, or at least get some kind of a turnover to give Peyton Manning a short field. It's really going to be tough, I think, if the defense isn't able to force a turnover and give Peyton Manning momentum, because he's always got to go 80 yards. That's going to be really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Mark, my question is, you're in the area. Is there any circumstance you could see them pulling Peyton for Brock Osweiler?
Unless he started throwing picks right out of the box, I don't think they would. And if he did it, the game would be over anyway, so it wouldn't even matter. But, no, I think, Peyton put him in some great places. Now, let's talk about the Steelers defense, too. Now, I'll tell you what, they threw some fronts that I hadn't seen before, and they brought some corner blitzes that they got beat on too. But Peyton beat them with some run plays and a lot of there were a lot of calls made at the line of scrimmage where the plays were changed last week because of what the Steelers were doing to the Broncos. And I thought the Steelers did a hell of a job defensively. And that's a pretty dang good defense now that they played against. And they threw some fronts at Denver that Denver had not seen. So, and to run the ball against that defense, I thought, kudos to that offensive line, because that offensive line is, like I said, is not a very good one.
Yeah, the Steelers' front seven is very good. I think their DBs are their weakness. And the thing that worried me there was Peyton didn't throw the ball deep on them that well. And, I mean, everybody's thrown the ball deep well on Pittsburgh this year. The problem was they stop you running, they take the short stuff away. And I think that New England is a team that's probably not going to blitz him a lot. They're probably going to show him a bunch of different coverages and try to confuse him. And if you've got wide receivers dropping the ball, that could make for a really long day.
It could.
Yeah. And I saw a couple of times in the game where the Steelers were mixing up the fronts in that 3-4 look. And Peyton got smashed on 2 corner blitzes where I normally, I don't know. I've just never seen Peyton not recognize something. I mean, there was a couple of hot reads that I don't know if he missed it or didn't see it, but there was a couple of times where he got smashed on that corner blitz, and I was like, I don't look like Peyton. I mean, Peyton usually sees that, checks it, but then later on in the game, I got to give him credit for that. A lot of when they start bringing that corner blitz in, he started checking to the run. They start having a little bit more success to it for what he saw. But a couple of times, the Steelers were throwing a little bit wrinkle in the coverages and bringing that corner. And Peyton got smashed on a couple of one was a sack and one was a knockdown. But I just think Belichick sees that. I just think he puts in something that's not going to confuse Peyton, but he's got to know that Peyton's long ball isn't the long ball it used to be. And I just think that they're going to cover. They're going to give him the little short stuff. They're going to stop the run. They're going to force Peyton to throw it deep, and until Peyton proves it and beats him on a deep route or a long post or a goal or whatever, I just think the Patriots are just going to. They're just going to saturate Peyton Manning and keep him to dinks and dunks, and then force Tom Brady to outscore them. I agree with Matt in saying that the Broncos at home, they need a spark. They need a special teams play, a block punt, a return, or some factor. And I think defensively they need a turnover to change the field position, because until Peyton proves it, it shows it, I don't see him going 80 yards consistently against the New England Patriots. Not that defense.
Yeah, and I think the big question is, Mark, what's the weather going to be Sunday?
Yeah, they're calling for a mix. There's a storm just came through yesterday. Another storm's coming through tonight. And they don't know if the storm that's coming across California right now is going to be – it's supposed to be bigger than the last two. These were just dustings. But out here, that's the one thing that's interesting about Colorado. Even if it's 30 degrees, 30 degrees in New York is like 0. 30 degrees here is like really 50 degrees somewhere else, because it's just the dryness out here. It really doesn't affect the game as much as the wind does. Now, the wind was whipping pretty good. People didn't realize how much that wind was whipping in the Steeler game, because it was. I was on the third deck in the club, on the club section outside, and the wind was blowing one direction there. And when the guys they had 5 different Army, Navy, Coast Guard, all the fellows out there with flags. Those flags were ripping across the field, which I thought was going to make field goals a little bit tough. But McManus, he was kicking them from 45 to 51 all day, and didn't look like he was being affected, but you certainly thought he would be, because the wind was probably 15 to 20 going sideways from east to west on the field. So it was kind of interesting. I think wind will be a bigger factor than either snow or temperature, because it's just so dry out here.
Yeah, and I think Tom Brady is the greatest bad weather quarterback the NFL's seen, and Peyton Manning has never played well in bad weather. Yeah.
The weather, even if, like I said, even if it's blustery here, it's not going to be that bad, because you just don't have the humidity here.
All right, Matt, any final words?
Well, the question I have is, we were talking about with the Broncos 2 years ago. That was a record-setting year. I think that was the year that Manning threw the 55 touchdowns. Like David said, they clearly had the better roster. But the question that I have is, maybe Mark can tell me his thoughts on this, is the difference in the coaching staff between then and now. You had John Fox, and I believe Adam Gase was still the offensive coordinator. What do you think the difference is in the coaching staff that they have now with Kubiak and Wade Phillips, obviously a good defensive coordinator, but would you feel more comfortable having Fox and Gase a couple of years ago, or this staff up against Belichick, one game away from the Super Bowl?
Yeah, that offense probably obviously was way more productive, and this defense is probably, earlier in the year I was saying it would rank up there with all the best defenses around, but they deteriorated quite rapidly over the season. Even though they're still ranked 1, they just aren't the same defense that they were when they started the year. So it's been, again, attrition has been a big part of the season for everybody's teams, and then who's come back and who's healthy. But Wade Phillips, I love him to death, and that defense that he puts together. But this offense has kind of been jammed down Peyton's throat. So, we were used to seeing, 40-plus points a game, and now if we see 24, that's what we're stuck with. But it hadn't been as much. It has been partially Peyton, but the receivers in the running game and the backs with the zone blocking game, they finally have figured that out. It took them about – I always give a team 6 weeks from the beginning of the season to start figuring out where they're at, but this thing's been so roughshod all year. It took them till late in the season to really figure out this running game and get it going in any form or fashion. And And the running backs have been hit and miss all year too. You know, one's hurt, one's not, one's beat up, one's in the game, one's out of the game. So I bet you see us pick up a decent running back this coming year to help that running game, because the backs are as important in the zone blocking scheme as their offensive line is, and I think they're finally figuring that out here at the end of the year. So I'd like to have a combination of both those. The answer is I'd like to have a combination of both those coaches' staffs, but Fox played not to lose was the problem.
But Dave, any last words defending your Patriots?
Yeah, I think. Well, as I said, I think I hear a dog barking in the background there. But yeah, I picked the Patriots, but I'm not putting a lot of money on it. Matt and Leon mentioned the Broncos might need to, force a turnover or two. I could easily see that happening. I could also easily see the Patriots losing the game on special teams because their kickoff and punt return coverage has not been consistent. The Broncos running game concerns me. So, yeah, I'm sticking with my home team, man, the Patriots, but it's not going to be an easy one, and I would not be surprised if it went the other way.
All right, Leon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think probably the four best teams are representing their conferences in the championship, 1 and 2. I've got the Panthers and the Patriots in a repeat of the Super Bowl. I can't remember what it is. I think the Panthers are going to ultimately win the Super Bowl. And just Matt made a comment about Cam Newton, as far as being the front runner. He does have a tendency to only shine when they're up top, and that's going to be the key to the game. I like to see him be put through some adversity and see how he could take the team on his back and lead them to the promised land. I haven't yet to see it. I'm a fan of Cam. I love his energy. I love what he brings to the team. He brings that swagger, that confidence, and it's contagious. Trust me, I've been on teams where we've had confident guys that kind of, sits around the locker room. It's just going to be, I think the Cardinals are going to put him in that position early on. But I think he's going to have his opportunity to bring him back. And we'll see what he's made of. We'll see what he's made of if he's down by 10 to 14 points, has to lead his team on the brink of losing the game. So I'm excited about these games. Like I said, I think the best 4 teams are in the championship, and we'll see. I think we're going to have an exciting Sunday come next week.
All right, Matt?
Yeah, basically what Leon said. I'm thinking both these games are going to be pretty good, very intriguing games. I'm very excited, especially for the NFC game. And looking forward to this matchup. I was hoping for it pretty much the whole year. Once it became apparent that these were going to be probably the 2 best teams in the conference, they weren't going to play each other until the playoffs. So I was hoping this would be the championship game. Looking forward to it. I also think that Arizona is going to put Cam Newton through a lot of adversity early on. I don't think Carolina is going to cruise, and it's going to be like what Leon said. This is going to be his chance to shine and to show that he can, put a team on his back and go win a game, and especially a big game like this. And he's certainly capable. He's very good. He's improved a lot, and he's shown me a lot. I was not really a big Cam Newton fan. I didn't really think a ton about his game, but I think he's really stepped up this year, especially when losing Kelvin Benjamin. Everyone pretty much had said all year they don't really have any receivers. Well, I think everybody knows, that Corey Brown's going to be good for a few big catches, and Funchess and Jericho Cotchery, and obviously Greg Olsen. And he finds ways to get everybody involved in the offense, and it's going to be tough for him though, up against this Arizona defense. But we'll see. Obviously, he'll have a chance, as will Carson Palmer.
All right, Mark?
Boy, just, another fun weekend of football. Last weekend was crazy. Not what I had expected or predicted, but with, just 2 games to watch. I think I think the people will be riveted. And like I said, going through, just bringing the Patriots through Denver, if it was the other way around, I'd be a lot less confident, I promise you. But this is a tough place to play, and it'll be interesting to see. I hadn't thought about the reasons that Matt and Leon talk about Cam like that, and when that got brought up here a minute ago, you know, with adversity and him not seeing much of it and front running and all that kind of stuff, it kind of made me rethink him a little bit. But you know, he has played with a pretty high level of confidence all year long, so it will be interesting to see, you know, like they said, how he plays through some adversity if he has any. But like I said, I think they've been just the most consistent football team week in and week out, and often that sometimes is all it takes to get through the playoffs.
All right. Well, I can agree with the Cam Newton statement from Leon and Matt, but also there's a lot to be said for the same thing Peyton Manning, who I think has lost more playoff games than anybody in NFL history. He's had 9 one-and-dones. There hadn't been too many. He's been a front runner in playoffs too, other than the one championship game where he brought the Patriots back brought the Colts back against the Patriots. And remember, in NCAA football, couldn't get out of the SEC. The year he's gone, T. Martin comes in and leads them to a national championship. So I think a lot could be questioned there also. Similar to Brett Favre, where, you know, you look at his 10 greatest moments, almost every one of those 10 moments are in the regular season. So I think there's questions about both of them. I think there's huge questions about Carson Palmer. But the one thing I do know on this weekend, I'm not going to go against the one guy that you can't question what he's done in the playoffs, and that's Tom Brady. I think he is the greatest quarterback that ever lived. I think that if he wins this Super Bowl, I think he shuts everybody out of the conversation. And no matter how much people hate him because he's got a hot wife or he might have deflated a ball, everybody's going to have to shut that all up because nobody's won it more than him. You know, I mean, right now, him and Montana neck and neck. I'm a Bengals fan, so if I see Joe Montana on a commercial, I usually leave the room because I get really nervous my team's about to lose. even during basketball season, I'll get up and I'll leave because the sight of Joe Montana makes me sick to my stomach.
Does your dog put his paw over his face whenever Joe Montana shows up on the TV?
Hey, that was an awesome picture, though, wasn't it? Sure, it happened the next day, but it was brilliant to me to think of that immediately, don't you think?
It was a good picture. That was a nice picture.
It was. I've got a nice dog. The problem is right now he will not go outside because it's too cold. He's a lab that he runs outside like 3 times a day for 30 seconds. He pees, and if you watch him, when he's out there, you know, making that smiley face while he's squatting and pissing, before he's done, he's barking. He's barking because he wants back in the house. You know, during the summer he'll go out and play for a couple hours and then.
Well, I'm trying to figure out why you. I'm trying to figure out why you let your dog squat to piss. I'm trying to figure that out. Why you let your dog?
Well, he squats to piss because it's cold out. If you raise your think about it, Leon. If you go outside and you raise your leg and you expose everything down there and the wind comes, that's got to be cold.
Well, just give him some trousers, man.
His hips block the wind. And see, he's like Peyton Manning. He has trouble getting things done in the wind.
Buy your dog some trousers, man. Leave him a little flat. Don't take his band. Don't take his band.
But he's got no hands, so I'd have to go unzip it for him. I ain't doing that. Man, this show deteriorated quickly there, dude.
Yeah.
And it was all Cooper's fault for bringing up my dog.
Oh, boy.
So, I want to remind everybody to go follow the Curling Truth Facebook page for more of this interesting banter. You can get all our shows. You can catch us on Spreaker, Stitcher. You can check out my interview I did with Jeff Kemp last week, all of the Pick'em shows we've done all year to see how me and Matt consistently beat Leon's ass. We will have a show, I believe, tomorrow night, Matt, on the top 10 conference championship games ever.
Yes.
Okay. So you can check that out on Thursday. I want to thank everybody that listened to the show last week especially. It was our highest ratings we've had so far. Mark Cooper will say it just because he was on, but he's full crap.
Thank you.
You can check out the Real Bengals Trivia show we did tonight, which I know Coop wouldn't get anything right there. See, the old man sleeping again. We got that one old guy on here.
Schroeder, where are you?
Hey, Mark, is there any way you can get the AARP to sponsor our show?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I figured you knew him pretty well. And now that the oldest man in the world, 112, died today, so that puts Mark the 7th oldest man in the world now.
Jealousy does not become you.
But check out our sponsors, RealBengalsFans.com. That's where real football fans gather. SteelbergBox.com for all your Pittsburgh Steeler fans you want to buy a present for. Also, check out Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app. I guess it's not that new by now since I've been saying that since the start of the season. But check it out, and you can play the game with your friends and family this weekend and see who wins. So, for Dave Sidersky, Mark Cooper, Leon Searcy, and Matt Andrews-Cabbage, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.